The rumors are true. I love to eat. Quite often I'm found roaming Hollywood Boulevard, thirsty, desperate for a morsel. The place next to the nail shop is my favorite place to get street meats. If I'm craving Thai, I'll go to King Thai off of Vine. And if I'm feeling vegan but a little piggish, I'll go to Doomie's right next door. I can be frequently found sucking on Mexican shrimp on the patio of Tequila and choking on big black boba balls at the milk tea place right across the street from Ripley's Believe It or Not. And the truth is, I'd do it for free. But if you paid me, well, I'd be in hog heaven. You know, I didn't know how good food bloggers had it until I discovered, get this, that some people charge restaurants money to feed them food. Some people actually get paid to eat. I'm letting my jealousy get ahead of me. Hi, my name is katblaque, and I like to think that I make content for introspective hot people. And well, if you're here, I'll assume that's you. And if you're brand new here, you know exactly what to do if this video pleases you. Just click on my button and join us right here on the channel. So I'm trying to hold myself to the rule that if I can't make a silly joke in a video, I don't want to make the video. And I know that for some people, there's a lot of things going on right now that you guys want for me to talk about. And trust me, I will definitely come around to some of those topics. I'm enjoying talking about stories that feel more inconsequential to me than not. And this is one of those stories where I just have some interesting things to say, and I'm curious what you guys have to say. And I'm also kind of like self-reflecting a little bit because I did not know that you could do this, or at least get paid this well to do it. So Vincent Tsai is a food and travel blogger who is pretty aesthetic. When I look at his YouTube channel, he's got just under 100,000 subscribers. And a lot of his content is very aesthetic. It is very vibey, so to speak, you know, and it is cute stuff. I mean, I definitely have seen Vincent's stuff come into my feed. I've definitely seen the video that he made with a black guy trying out some different Korean Kush foundations. Vincent Tsai came to TikTok and rushed to tell about his negative experience with a New York-based brunch spot called Brioche NYC. In the video, he tells a story about how the cafe DM'd him to have him come in and try their new French toast.
New cafe in New York City DM'd me saying they love my content and they want me to go in and try their new French toast. I gave them my rate and they said they didn't have money for it, so I told them that I'd go in and try it, and if I like it, I might post a few stories. I asked if they could accommodate a guest and add another food item and a drink, and they said they couldn't afford it. I should have known there was going to be an issue when I heard that, but I did not catch the red flag. We confirmed the date, and on the day I went in, I told the staff that I came in because I was invited. The barista walks to the back to talk to the owner, and then she comes back and tells me that I should have came yesterday. I showed her the messages I had with the cafe, and it clearly said I was supposed to come in today at 2 p.m. She goes back to the kitchen to talk to the owner, and when she gets back, she tells me that they can't serve me. Mind you, I came in just to try a French toast and one drink. They couldn't even afford a second French toast or a drink that would have cost them maybe like $5. I asked them what's the reason since it's already been confirmed, and they didn't give me an explanation, so I just walked out and went to another place. I thought I'd be nice and do them a favor and commute 40 minutes to go try this stupid French toast. This turned out to be one of the worst experiences I've ever had.
Vincent Tsai told one story, but the truth turned out to be a little bit different. Now, as I alluded to in the very beginning of this video, I know that for a lot of us normies, hearing about someone doing all of this is a lot, right? Like you're hearing this story about this person who wants free food and he's fighting people over bread dipped in egg batter. I mean, maybe I have to try this French toast. Who knows? So as you can imagine, when Vincent posted this video, a lot of people did not receive it well, and he felt compelled to post receipts proving that the restaurant did indeed invite him.
So some people seem to think that it's my fault that I was contacted by this cafe and invited to try the French toast, but when I show up at the confirmed time and date, they decide they don't want to serve me anymore. So I'm going to show you guys some screenshots. It seems like there are some people with poor reading skills, so let me read this to you. This says, we'd be happy to offer it on the house and you're more than welcome to bring a +1. And in the second message, they're telling me they can't afford 2 French toasts since they're a small cafe, but they told me to bring a guest. So did they want me to share a drink with my guest? That would be absurd. Here's the apology they sent me. This has nothing to do with whether I can or cannot afford a French toast on my own. It's the fact that they contacted me first. I didn't reach out for anything free. As you saw in the screenshot, they told me it would be on the house, but when I arrived, they didn't serve me. I still don't know the reason, but I assume it's because the owner's cheap as hell. Honestly, I just wanted to be nice and do a small business a favor, but that backfired.
So when Vincent made this video, as you can imagine, there were a lot of people who received it a certain way. When I saw the video, it was pretty shocking, mostly just because I could not understand being that entitled. I had a couple of different reactions to this story, right? Like the first reaction I had was, this seems like an entitled ass influencer. The second one was, why would a restaurant invite them in as like an influencer and not think about paying them? Like a lot of companies, they downplay the value of influencer marketing. And so they just want for you to basically come in with your audience and like advertise for them and make them a bunch of money with your built-in audience. And that does have value. That does have value. And I don't necessarily disagree with the idea of getting paid. So I guess at first I was a bit divided, but the internet definitely had their own particular way of looking at this. And the video got onto the feed of Daddy Snacks, who is a TikToker who satirizes exactly that.
Oh my God, you guys, a small business wouldn't give me free stuff and I'm literally shaking. But seriously, did you miss the part where they said they couldn't afford this before you showed up with your friend? And if they're cheap for not compensating your $5 French toast, what does that make you for not just fucking paying for it? I have 3 times as many followers as this guy, and I have never once even thought to ask for free stuff. And before you tell me the cafe shouldn't have messaged him asking him for a promo, maybe he shouldn't claim to be doing this to support small businesses.
So I've definitely seen some of Daddy Snack's content, and usually I hear him making fun of the influencer accent, which I honestly find really funny because I just talk like this. Like, this is just the way that I talk. But I guess like there's a whole era of people who influencer speech has influence the way that they speak. And it's always funny to go to different parts of the country and interact with people who all talk like they're from LA. Daddy has actually made several videos responding to Vincent. In his first video, he makes the point that Brioche NYC is a small business that does not have the ability to give away free food. And much like Vincent, Daddy Snacks did get some blowback for the videos that he made about this issue, and that blowback encouraged him to actually reach out directly to Brioche NYC. And that is when Brioche NYC decided to share the DMs between them and Vincent, which revealed just how much he was asking for a review of French toast. Get this. Drum roll, please. $4,000. Ooh, I am in the wrong business.
With me to address an influencer who accused me of lying. I posted a video about how this guy threw a New York City small business under the bus because they wouldn't give him free food. He and his followers blasted me, accusing me of misrepresenting the situation. I am absolutely petty as fuck, so I reached out to the cafe myself for screenshots. I'm gonna post them here. You can pause the video to read them, but I will summarize them for you. They reached out to him offering to comp his meal in exchange for content, and he replies asking for $4,000. They say they can't afford that, but he's welcome to stop by anyways, at which point he says he will. He then proceeds to ask for at least 2 food items and 2 drinks to be compensated, and doesn't even promise a story in exchange for it. The cafe replies and says the best that they could, an operative word here is could do, is one drink and one food item, but he's welcome to stop by casually anyways. He then proceeds to show up with his friend anyways, expecting for his food to be compensated, at which point they say no, he goes home and then makes a video calling them out. He also calls their food ass and calls the ownership cheap. Well, it turns out that this place actually makes their French toast in-house from scratch. I'm going to tag them below because I highly encourage everyone in New York City to support this small business. I'm going to be stopping by there next week and paying for my meal myself.
$4,000 is a lot of money. Transparently, $4,000 is quite frequently more than I make in a month, right? And I do a lot. I've traveled the country and spoken at colleges and universities for less than $4,000, right? It is fascinating to me that within Vincent's mind, $4,000 is the price for a post on social media. And Vincent, like I said, is not a massive content creator. Vincent has a pretty good sizable following, but it's still a pretty humble one. And so it's interesting to think that Vincent imagined $4,000 would be the decent price, right? And you have to ask yourself, maybe that is the amount of money that he's been asking for. Maybe that's the amount of money that he's been getting. And maybe those who don't ask don't get fed, right? I have so many feelings about this just because to me, that is so much for not a lot, right? As you can probably imagine, the TikTok audience was not too happy about this because $4,000 is a lot of money. And I think it was pretty intentional that Vincent didn't actually share the amount of money that he asked for, because it does make it seem more obvious why the restaurant would probably say no. It's not that the restaurant is so broke or, all the other things he was saying in his video. It's that he was asking for $4,000, which is a lot of money for a restaurant, especially right now. This whole issue led to a lot of conversation about just how much content creators should be getting paid for stuff like this. And there were some people who actually started to take issue with both of these content creators. So there's a TikToker whose name I believe is Princess Paulai, though I'm probably saying that incorrectly. But Princess Paulai decided to look at these receipts and examine the history of Brioche NYC. And what they found was very, very interesting.
I posted a video about how this guy threw a New York City small business under the bus because they wouldn't give him free food.
Brioche New York City is not a small New York business. At least I would never use those words to describe a business that is run by a rich Korean man as part of a bigger corporation. Let's look at who the owner of Brioche New York City is. If you go to the 3chordsinc.com and you look at their website, it's basically a premium beverage consultant distributor company that's offering guidance to small businesses, maybe large businesses. However, they do have 3 in-house brands that they operate. One of the notable ones is Semicolon Cafe, which has been around since 2019 and has multiple franchises across the nation. We have Sweet Moment, which is opened in 2017. There's a location in Little Italy and Soho, maybe even more potentially franchises by now. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see that Brioche New York City is part of this in-house branding where it's essentially following the identity of Semicolon Cafe's sandwiches. The founder and the owner of Semicolon Cafe is, I'm gonna butcher this name, Sung Pyo Hong. He used to be the CEO at 3 Chords Inc. Maybe he still is, but essentially he is a rich Korean man. I made a previous video where I said that the danger of labeling something as a small New York business is that you don't actually know who is this business. When you go to K-Town and you find people who work in K-Town and see these businesses, you might notice there is a trend in terms of branding, identity, the location. And the trend is that a lot of these rich Korean men, like Sung Pyo Hong, have the money to basically rinse and repeat so many small businesses in New York City, but purposely hide the fact that they are part of a much larger corporation having franchises, etc. Can they afford to give away free food for content creators? Absolutely. 100%. This is not like the other videos that Daddy, which I now realize that Daddy Snacks, Daddy means grandma. It comes from him being in the kitchen with his grandma. So I actually don't know this content creator's name. All I know is that his content always focuses on targeting entitled influencers who attack small businesses, which great. I love that platform. But it's also the fact that I've tagged you and I've also commented in the comment section. Other people have commented after I made that video. This is not a New York City small business. In fact, based on the location and the fact that their Facebook page has been active since 2020, even though they're a recently opened cafe, probably means that they either kicked out an actual small New York cafe or they rebranded from a failed business, which is a common trend that you see in K-Town with these investors. I'm looking at these comment section from Daddy Snack's page, and all I see is that people are saying, this is a small business. We need to protect New York City small businesses. That page, Brioche City, New York City, only follows Daddy Snacks, and they've been reposting stories where they say they are a small New York business and they had a bad experience with this influencer. And for me, it's like, if this were truly a small New York business, then I would fully stand behind that. There is a lot of entitled influencers out there. However, it took less than one video for a commenter who I'm going to tag below to share with me that this is the actual reality of Brioche, New York City. This is not some bootstrap cafe with limited funds. They've reached out to a ton of New York City content creators to make content and pay them for it. So I'm not here to defend Vincent and not here to attack Daddy. They both have their own branding and platform that they want to build off of. But I want to say, do not believe everything you see on the internet. Do a little bit of investigating. When you see someone attacking a small New York City small business, don't automatically assume that it's a small business just because of branding. If you can't easily find the owner of this cafe within one Google search, they're probably not a small business.
Basically, what Three Chords Inc. does is they come into businesses and they make the business competitive with all of the other businesses around them, typically by providing them with premium drink services. And as an extension of that, they also have their own cafes, Semicolon Cafe, Brioche NYC. I believe there's one more cafe that they also have under their belt. And that's worth noting because we're comparing them to mom and pop businesses that are not going to have the same exact access to these premium services. Brioche NYC is actually owned by Korean businessman Soon Fyo Hung, and he also owns Semicolon Cafe, which is Three Chords Inc.'s signature brand. No, making their bread by hand every day does not actually make them a mom and pop business. So I thought that this story was a really interesting one. There's a conversation about influencers and how much they're supposed to be paid. There's also a conversation about small businesses and large corporations that masquerade as small businesses. Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of people who downplay this idea that influencers should be paid at all because they think of what we do as not very valuable. But the thing is, it is true that inviting an influencer into your business so that they can have some of your food and then talk about your food can positively impact your business. I do think that influencers should get paid to advertise, right? I mean, effectively what Vincent would be doing is going in, filming something that he would then edit and then post that the business could then use for advertising. The $4,000 part causes me pause in another way because it sounds like a lot of money to me, but maybe I haven't been asking for enough money, right? That's kind of the aspect of this story that I'm still stuck on, because I sit here and say, I would never want to ask $4,000 from a restaurant to do a review, but maybe that's what people are getting paid. And frankly, I do think that in some situations, businesses get more out of their interaction with an influencer than that influencer is typically given credit for. I'm saying this because I intellectually understand that this is a thing. I am unfortunately, well, fortunately for me, a goth, and I don't really follow the mainstream, but I know, but I know that there are people who they see their favorite social media figure do something and they want to do it, and then it becomes this thing, right? Like, there is power in that. And I think that influencers do deserve to get paid. I think for me, maybe some of this conversation would feel differently if not for Vincent's attitude. Vincent has an attitude throughout these videos that is so terrible. He has such a terrible attitude. And there's a part of me, and maybe this is the conservative in me popping out, I just don't understand acting like that. If I was in Vincent's position, I would not have gotten on the train to go down to this restaurant that I did not have an agreement with about payment if I expected to be paid. My perception of Vincent, though I could be totally wrong about this, is that Vincent is a newer influencer. And maybe someone gave Vincent bad advice when it came to this. But if there's not a contract, do not budge, right? Unless you are fine with the potential of not getting paid, right? Do not budge. That's just, to me, the thing that makes the most sense, right? These businesses, it is in their best interest to get every little thing that they want to do with you written down on paper, right? And businesses that are actually trying to do this, right, that are actually trying to pay influencers, like, they're going to have you make those agreements in a way that is legally sound, right? It didn't seem like that's what happened in this situation. And frankly, the way that Vincent is talking, I'm a bit shocked because his actions for me feel a bit desperate. It feels a bit like you really needed that French toast, girl. Because here's the thing, right? If the agreement from the business was, we want you to come down to our business, we want you to try the French toast, we want you to make a 3-minute video stating these particular things about it, this information needs to be in it, that information needs to be it, and we need the video by, noon tomorrow, right? These are all asks that they're asking of you. And those are things that you can charge for. You can charge for your expertise as a content creator who has a platform that has an audience, right? Businesses don't typically get followed in the way that content creators get followed. Like, as a content creator, the idea is at least that we are a bit more trustworthy than these businesses would be, right? Like, these corporations are, they are incentivized to only show you the thing that's going to make you buy, right? Whereas content creators, influencers, whatever, yeah, maybe some of us like to get paid because we like, and so maybe some of us are going to say nice things because it pays us more to say nice things. This is why I don't typically do sponsorships, by the way. Because I cannot be bought, baby. I can't be bought. But, let's talk about it, though. It doesn't exactly make a lot of sense for you to expect payment when they've explicitly told you more than once that they don't have the money, right? Actually, in all reality, no, they do have the money. Like, they do, actually. They do have the money, and yes, they are being cheap. Rich people are cheap. I don't know why so many people don't understand this, but rich people are cheap. Girl, I was raised upper middle class, right? I was not those people up on the hill, but them people up on the hill, girl, they don't live in the ghetto, but anyway, all I'm saying is that, yeah, a lot of times people who have money don't want to give you money. But, to maybe some of his point, there's a lot of value in social media. There's a lot of power in social media, right? There's a story that happened that was kind of similar to this a little bit in some ways. There's an influencer who came into this cafe in San Francisco called Kiss Cafe, and she had made an agreement with someone on the social media page of the restaurant to come in and do a influencer spot. And when she got there, the lead chef came out and was like, why are you here? Oh, you have a social media page? And he started degrading her, comparing her to his daughter, who is apparently very famous on social media. And much like Vincent, she went and shared her experience with the cafe on TikTok, Well, a bunch of people saw it. The story of how she was treated went around social media, and that chef got fired, and ultimately that restaurant got shut down, right? Social media does have a lot of power, and that content creator was not even a very big content creator either, but she was able to get an entire army of people on the internet to join together to take down this particular chef and ultimately the restaurant, just because he didn't want to treat people nicely. And that's frankly kind of like the thing I keep feeling with this. I feel like Vincent probably could have gotten something if he was a bit nicer about it. Like, personally for me, I have this really strong fear of coming off like an influencer. In fact, if you ever run into me at the goth club, one of the things you should know about me is that I almost never want to announce to other people that I'm a YouTuber. Obviously, people know, right? I can only make videos about weird shit for so long and not be recognized by the weirdos I hang around. But I hate the idea of attention drawn to me because I'm an influencer, because I'm a YouTuber. I really don't like it. It's something that makes me immensely uncomfortable. And typically, I don't really want to be friends with people who know who I am. I'm really uncomfortable with the idea that because I'm a social media influencer, I should demand and command more things from people. In fact, I will never forget, I had this opportunity to hang out with this influencer. I will not tell you who, but when we were hanging out, she kept getting recognized, of course, and her interactions with like people who were in service, right, were just so like demeaning and this and this and that, all because she is a social media influencer, and it really turned me off. So for me, I don't like Vincent's attitude around this. I think that humility goes very far. I think that you can get a lot with being polite. And I do not get the impression that Vincent is very polite. Now, who knows? Maybe that's just my old Christian conservative bullshit coming back out to bite me. But I do think that he could have stood to be a bit more respectful in many aspects of this. That's another thing I thought about when I was looking at this story. Why would anyone want to work with you after this? You've publicly demonstrated that you cannot come to an agreement, that you cannot tactfully handle things, right? And that you have maybe a tendency to actually attack the people who reach out to you, right? And that is not going to be something that gets you what you want here. Now you go on his social media page and you look at the comment section on most of his videos, and they're all talking about $4,000 French toast. I'm just saying it's something that I hope Vincent thinks about. I don't think that this is like the end of the world for this content creator, but I definitely think that it's something to consider. It feels odd to me to expect restaurants that are probably struggling right now to give you tons of money to do a review. It's just very odd to me. It's just very, very strange. And you know, what's funny about that is right now, more than anything, what I've appreciated in terms of food content that I get in my feed is content about small businesses that are struggling right now, where people who have actually been to these businesses, who actually enjoy things from this business, are directing you to patronize it before it closes down, right? To me, that's one of the things that I get excited by. I find myself way more likely to patronize those specific businesses if I especially know that they are impacted by the ICE raids. Like, for me, it's super important to support those businesses. Put plainly, Vincent was approached by a large company that was masquerading as a smaller company. And in all reality, these large companies are probably the least likely to pay influencers for their time. Is there something to be said about how small businesses can benefit from giving influencers free things? Yeah, I think that's probably the ideal, right? And sometimes small businesses do not want to do that. Sometimes they can't afford to do that. Sometimes it's not in their business plan to do that. And I do think that sometimes that means that small businesses miss out on certain opportunities. For example, I host an event in Los Angeles, and the bar that I host at recently went under a new owner. And the previous owner used to give me basically the ability to drink and eat for free as much as I want. I never asked for that, but she saw that I was bringing in, usually around 60 to 100 people for my event, and it was making her money. And she said, you know what? I'm going to make it so that you are more comfortable here. That same owner opened up a bar in downtown Los Angeles, and I'm currently debating whether or not I want to host another event at her bar, not necessarily because she gave me free drinks, right? But because she respected what I was bringing to the table as a person who was bringing her business, right? And that goes so far. So I think that sometimes when businesses don't want to do some of that stuff, it can backfire, because I know for a fact that, let's say I can no longer do it at the bar that I'm currently doing it at. I have a place where I can go and do it quite easily with a person who does see the value in what I'm doing. Sometimes businesses do not see the value in working directly with content creators, and only time will tell whether or not that's good business. Anyway, I just thought that this was a really interesting story, and I'm very curious what you guys have to say about it. So as per usual, please give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, low-key, if anyone in my audience owns a restaurant in the LA area and they want social media posts, just give me free food and I will literally come in and make a video about it, because I just want to, and I think it would be fun, and I love trying new restaurants. So I won't even charge you $4,000. I'll just come and eat your food for free. I think that's a fair deal. Anyway, on that note, I will see you guys next time. But before I go, I wanted to thank my last 3 Patreon members. Shout out to Sparta, SA, and Otis Spelunker. What a strong name. I love that strong name. Patreon is basically where I post a bunch of personal vlogs about my life and also about my work stuff that's going on behind the scenes. It is really where I try to interact more directly with my audience. And also on here, I've got YouTube members where I often will share some video notes and comment responses, extra little pieces of content that are often part of larger pieces of content that I will share on here exclusively for members on my YouTube. Anyway, on that note, I will talk to you guys later. And as per usual, I want you to always remember and to never forget that you are beautiful and you are loved. Bye. Bye.